heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I want the money, the pride, respect, and I heard you know so-and-so, you not a threat, cause I really know so-and-so, they like my family, so they go pretend that they cool till they bust at your motherfucking chest. I'm getting gutter, my flow been like butter, my check in the bank, they see the number. All of my haters feel one of two ways, really upset or they show some respect. I can't even think about it, I've been up, so read about it, no beat around it, straight to it, no ring around it. You coming for me, we'll see about it, we'll never see it when I get my feet up. 100 meters where I run the fee up, and go from King and I'm on a Pia. I had to re-up on a reel, so you stay defeated, and put it back into the bit, cause I don't really need it. I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I had to put all their egos in check. You're not entitled to anything else. I get 10 years of this under my belt. Your art isn't art, they don't feel it, and nobody hears it, and it should just stay on the shelf. Your ego done got in the way. It gotta die today. It gotta go. You should be happy I lighten the load. The weight of your arrogance, heavy as stone. I make an appearance, they already know. That chip on your shoulder gon' crumble and fold, yeah. It's not a secret that you have been fearing the shit that I'm on. So you back to the brag and the boast. But I'm in a class of my own. I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to Drone Brews. We have been gone. We've been on hiatus for what feels like forever. I think it's been over 4 weeks since we've been gone. That's literally how long it's been. It's been over 4 weeks since Eddie and I have done a live stream, done anything. So, man, it's good to be back. We're finally in the brand new space. So we're in the new studio. Super excited about this to finally be done with the move. That way we can get back to some normalcy. Let's just go ahead really quick. Let me go through the chat because we haven't done this in a long time. So let's just greet the chat. I see we got Jimmy J, Eric Lipinski, Leonard Oglesby, Axis Aerial Cinematography. We got Mark Sullivan, Itchy Sack, FPB, Chad B. See, we got Chris Richardson. Welcome to the stream. Bare Necessities, Aerial Photos LLC, Brad Henderson, Bob Casey, Panda Drones. We got One Vision Aerials, and I saw, let's see, Michael Belshe's in the house here. We got Ariel Sean, Carolina Aerial Visuals, Ken Torbeck's here. Let's see, we got Jim Beauchart, TJ Giggles and Drones, Sergio from Fly Zone. Let's see, who else we got? We got Renskid Faithful and Sam Lepore from the shore in the house. So, yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about the Mavic 3 Pro. We're talking Mavic 3 Pro. It's been out for a little bit now. I've had it for what feels like 2 months now. So we're going to talk about that. But really quickly, let's crack open a cold one. And what I mean by a cold one, a ghost, because we're going to need some energy for tonight's stream. Let's see. I think Eddie's about ready. Let me bring Eduardo in. Ladies and gentlemen, my co-host of the most, Eduardo Nunez. That is not Eduardo Nunez. How did you get here?
I hate to disappoint.
Jeez.
Am I disappointing everybody? People are probably like,
they were
pretty
upset
pumped now.
They were pretty pumped for Eduardo Nunez. And then here you are. But what do you got? You got a drink?
Got a ghost with you.
Yeah. Totally not sponsored, but that'll keep us awake.
It sure will, because we got a lot to talk about tonight.
We got a lot to unpack, and we've both been flying the Mavic 3 Pro, so we'll just get right into it. We've both been flying the Mavic 3 Pro. It's been out for what? I think it's launched like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. How long has it been?
Yeah. Well, it launched a while ago, but just started shipping, right? Like May 8th, May 9th. And I think that since they started shipping, now people are finally starting to actually get them delivered to their home. So it's been pretty recent that they've been out in the wild.
Yeah. That's yeah, I think they just started delivering last week, this week. When did they start getting it was last week they started getting delivered. Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm looking on Instagram and I see a lot of people with their stories finally getting to unbox their Mavic 3 Pro. And so many people are trying to dump their Mavic 3s. I just had Jin today. Shout out to Jin. I had him message me saying, and I have to text him back, but he said, "Where can I sell my Mavic 3 Classic at?"
You know
Because
what's
everybody
funny,
wants to
man?
buy
They
the
missed the
Pro.
boat. People missed the boat. If you wanted to sell your Mavic 3 Classic or you wanted to sell your Mavic 3, you missed. I think you missed your opportunity. Maybe. You know, but I don't think
What do
you
you
have to sell it to jump to this. But we could talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, like if I'm in a point where, you know, I'm an aerial service provider, and if I'm getting a drone, and maybe if I don't have a backup drone already, I would keep the Mavic 3 as a backup because it's a great drone. You know, I mean, it's basically interchangeable in terms of the camera and everything because it's so similar. And if you wanted to make that jump to the Mavic 3 Pro, I'd probably only do it if, you know, you're in the right spot in terms of your funds, because it's not going to be that big of a change. Let's see, on eBay, what do you think the going price for is a Mavic 3?
I'm not 100% sure. I was just turning up the gain on the mic. I've got it up. Bill, am I too loud? Am I loud or hot?
Nah, you're good. You sound good.
I'm seeing it peaking here. It's in the yellow, so that's why I was wondering. Weird.
Wow.
I think the Mavic 3 is the Mavic 3 I saw on eBay the other day. I think it was like $1,800. I saw it on eBay.
Yeah, this is like Mavic 3 drone, 1,500. Mavic 3 drone only 1,500. This looks like the one with the 7x telephoto camera. This
Yeah.
one is a Mavic 3. This one, well, this has bids on it. People are bidding on it, but it's as low as $360. I might go and place a bid on it just because it's so low.
$360. I wonder
Yeah,
what the reserve on that is actually, because it's probably like, if you're going to sell your Mavic 3 right now, I think 1,500 is probably a reasonable price to get. 1,500.
Here's the issue, though, is everybody sees that, you know, if they're shipping off their Mavic 3 because they want to buy a Mavic 3 Pro, they're probably going to want to keep all of their accessories because they're compatible, and then it leaves them, you know, selling the drone only. But I feel like not a lot of people want to buy just the drone. They want to go and they want to buy the drone with extra batteries and with the remote controller. So if you're looking to sell, maybe trying to, even though you're getting the Mavic 3 Pro, maybe try to dump all of your stuff and then just buy a brand new kit from DJI.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable idea. I got to tell you, like, since I've gotten the Mavic 3 Pro, I had not flown my Mavic 3, not even one bit. And essentially, they are the same. They're the same, right? Like the color is pretty much the same. The only real difference, the only difference is that 3x camera. When they first told us about this, and we're like, "Oh yeah, you're going to get this," and they told us they gave us the spec sheet. I was like, wait, the only thing is there's a 3x zoom. I was disappointed when they first told me that until I used it.
It's such a game changer. Like,
no, it has been a game changer
for me. So D-Log M was also added, but then they gave that to all of the Mavic 3s through a firmware update. So D-Log M, even though it's new, every Mavic 3 can take advantage of that. And yeah, I mean, dude, like for me, you know, I can just think about a couple of shoots that I've done over the past, you know, week or so. And there's times where I didn't think I would normally need the 70mm lens, but then I end up using it because it's there and it can get me a different style of shot. Like today I was doing photos of a school up in North Philly, and I was able to use the 70mm lens to get the logo of the school on the side of the building. And it's like, you could do that with your regular, you know, 4/3 camera, 24mm, but just being able to compress on just the sign and like just the logo, it made the shot so much better. And I could fly further away and not have to worry about crashing. So it's like a safety thing from that perspective, but also it's just a look thing. Like that 70mm is so good.
Yeah, when I first like got it out of the box and I started, you know, setting it up, and the first time I took a video or took a photo with it, I think it was a real estate shoot. I was like, I'm not really sure about this lens. And I remember I was on the water, there was a canal, and there was paddle boarders on the canal. And I was able to get a shot of the paddle boarder, and they're like perfectly in focus, but everything like in front of them is like sort of compressed and out of focus, just ever so slightly. It just gave this really crazy, almost photography cinematic look. I was like, holy shit. I'm like, I could really use this with, you know, when it comes to real estate photography, isolating subjects. And, you know, ever since that point, I've been pretty much using the 3x almost on every single shoot I've done. However, I don't really care too much for the D-Log M. I don't think the
Yeah,
D-Log M is as good as D-Log. You know, as much as I complained about D-Log, I don't think it's as good.
Yeah, I use the normal color profile no matter what. Like
Same,
I just
same.
like the colors look so good. It's like whenever I shoot in normal, it's just a simple little exposure adjustment, like raise the midtones, lower the shadows, and then like boost the saturation, and that's it. And it's ready to go. So I've just been using the normal colors. You know, you can really get into the weeds with like, you know, when you're shooting with a camera, let's say inside, and you're dealing with different lighting sources and all of this stuff. I mean, but you've got to realize that when you're flying a drone, you're just like up in the air, usually using the sunlight. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, so a lot of those features that they build in, like manual focus and like, you know, things like that are things that are great to have on a regular camera, but on a drone just don't make much sense. Although I will say that I have been noticing sometimes when I'm doing a reveal shot and I have something really close to the camera with the 70mm lens, you get a little bit of depth of field. Like I was
No,
doing
you
some
do.
reveals
You
around
do.
trees. Yeah, so you have to make sure that you focus on the background and not
You,
focus on the trees.
yeah, you got to tap. I noticed that. I forgot where I was. Oh, I was doing a house. I was doing a house, and there was some trees in front of the house, and I noticed it kept wanting to focus on the trees, so I had to keep tapping to the house. I wish it had focus tracking.
Would be
I know
nice.
that's a silly thing to want, but like our cameras, like you can sit there and focus track on something. I wish that we had focus tracking. The other thing too is this 70 mil or having three lenses just in general is sort of nice because it gives you so many different options when you're up there and you're wanting to take photos. I think when we were in Las Vegas and we were heading out towards Utah and we kept stopping at different spots and it was interesting to see like how we were able to reach objects that were so much further. One, we were
Mhm.
preserving a crap ton of battery,
Totally.
but two, we were basically filming the same area, but essentially we were getting like two different perspectives because maybe I'm in wide, you're in the telephoto, or who's at the 166. And honestly, the Explorer lens is slightly better. It's slightly
It is.
improved,
It seems like
just ever
sharper or
so.
something.
Yeah, it seems sharper on the Mavic 3 Pro. And I know it's not a placebo because I compared photos that I've taken in downtown Tampa, and I was like, wait a second, this looks night and day different. I've been really super impressed, super happy with the way that 3 times actually performs.
Yeah, the the initial thought process, I think, like yourself, I was a little bit like, cool, it's there, but how often am I going to use it? And
Right.
the more I used it, the more I kind of understood like how powerful it was. And something that I really think is the reason why I'm so excited about it is because we obviously use gimbals a lot, right? And we'll put our gimbal on there and maybe shoot like at 50mm or maybe shoot at like 24mm, but like I'm never putting my 70 to 200 on the gimbal and using the 70mm lens. Like I'm never that far out when I'm using a gimbal. So being able to get like a lot of movement at 70mm just make things look crazy. Like
It
for
makes it look
example, I was
slower.
yeah.
It almost slows like the fastest movements way down. You can be at 30 frames per second and orbiting something, and it just sort of slows everything down. It gives everything a much more dynamic look. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan. I'm a big fan of it, and I find myself I never use zooms. I never use the zoom on the Mavic 3. When I first got that, I was like, "This lens is trash. I'm not going to
That's
ever
why
use this," and I
I
never
was so
did.
excited about the classic. I was so excited about the classic because I was like, good, they got rid of it. I don't need it.
Right, right, and then they added it back, and that's why I was actually confused. I'm like, "Who asked for this?" But then it's one of those things when you actually use the lens, you're like, "All right, damn, this is pretty damn good." I'm like, maybe there's something here, but it is a hard sell. Like when you're reviewing something and there's only one thing different about the drone, that makes that it's a hard thing to tell somebody, hey, this is better and this is why, because it just has this one thing. That's a hard thing to do when you're reviewing something. It makes for a fast review. I'll tell you that. It makes for a fast review.
No, look, that's true. But like, being able to see how much of a game changer like just that one feature is, in my opinion, it does make it worthwhile as an upgrade, right? Because you know exactly what you're getting with the drone. The Mavic 3 has come a long way in terms of improvements that have been made through software updates, firmware updates, yada yada yada. But when it comes down to it, like even though it's only one change, it's enough of a change for me after having used it to say like, yeah, an upgrade is worthwhile.
Right. But it's like, I still like, if I had a Mavic 3 Pro or a Mavic 3 Classic, I wouldn't tell somebody that already has it, like, hey, go out
Mhm.
and buy this because it's got this one. You know what I mean? Like, you can fake certain shots. Like, yeah, you can't really fake the compression per se, but I think you can fake certain shots with the Mavic 3. The other
Yeah.
thing is, like, I mean, I feel like this drone really, it was for the holdouts, right? Like, we had a lot of people when the Mavic 3 first came out, they were like, yeah, I'm not upgrading. I'm not upgrading. I don't want it. There's too many problems. They saw like sort of the growing pains. Like, I think everybody had a bunch of issues when the Mavic 3 first came out. Like, we had GPS issues, we had
So
horizon
many.
tilt issues. There was a lot of problems. It took a solid, I would say, 6 months before DJI like really flushed a lot of those problems out. That leaves a bad taste in people's mouth that, you know, spent their money and then sort of had to go through all the growing pains. I know I personally,
Mhm.
I was like, "Fuck, I'm pissed. Like,
Yeah.
spent all this money, and you know, it's not really great. But as the months go on, everything started getting better, and then they released the Classic. It was almost like, okay, we got the bugs flushed out. Let's launch a cheaper version. In comes the Classic, and now we have, you know, this much more expensive version, or I would say the replacement to the 3.
Mhm.
It's almost a good sign off for it because there's not going to be anything after the 3 Pro. It's going to be, the next one's going to be a 4 at that point.
Yeah, I wonder, but I again, like, dude, the thing that I think about is like when you look at just like the drone itself, it's already so damn good. You just wonder
Yeah.
what more you could want from it. I mean, I think that the biggest thing they'd want to do is just refresh it to make it look different. Like it might not be the biggest spec bump in the entire world, but you know, something I just released a recent video, kind of talking about, you know, why the Mavic 3 is such a big upgrade,
Yeah.
and towards the end, I posed this idea of having like a fully modular airframe, right? And maybe a Mavic 4 could be this. Like, could you imagine where they come out with 3 different versions of the airframe, right? Like a regular version, a cine version, and an enterprise version. And you can choose your airframe, and then you choose your camera, and then you choose your controller. So it's basically like you customize the drone that you want. You get that in the mail, and then you could buy other payloads down the road, right? So like they could come out with multiple payloads, and they could, like, say in, you know, 6 months after that, come out with a different payload that is you know, specialty for photography or specialty for video, right?
Right.
And then from there, maybe they even just say upgrade the airframe. They're like, look, our cameras are in a place that we really think that they are strong. You know, we don't think that we need to update any of them. So why don't we come out with now a new airframe? And maybe this one specific airframe is great for speed. Like maybe it has like these crazy motors, you know, but the flight time isn't as good. So I just think that like they could give you a lot of these different options that would be pretty enticing. And I think everybody could really appreciate a modular
Yeah. I
system.
agree with you. I think a modular system makes a lot of sense. I would, you know, honestly, I would just like to see, instead of having multiple lenses, it be an all-inclusive lens. You have a really good zoom lens. Now I get it. Like, prime lenses are going to be way sharper than a zoom lens, but to have like an all-in-one zoom lens, a wide 4/3 sensor that also has zoom capabilities. So we don't have to have multiple lenses, but we also aren't really choosing. So we have optical zoom and just forget about the
Yeah.
digital zoom aspect. And I think the other aspect, I think after flying the Max, I would love to see hot swappable batteries.
That'd be
I
so
would
nice.
I would love to see the ability to keep the drone powered on so I can swap in another battery when I need to. Don't have to go through the whole boot up cycle process. You know, you only need like 18 to 20 seconds, if that, to swap the batteries out. I would love to see hot swappable batteries. I mean, obviously, Autel is proving that that can be done. So I would love to see DJI be able to adopt something like that. It will definitely pose some issues for traveling, though. If you wanted to travel with it, you wouldn't be able to check it into a bag then if we had hot swappable systems.
No way.
Well, yeah, yeah. You think about it, you're going to have an internal battery at that point.
Yeah.
You can't throw
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? You gotta sort of take that as a carry on always at that point.
Well,
Um,
back to your point with the optical zoom, I think that that's great. And sure, you talk about sharpness, but because it's a drone, you've got to make, you know, sacrifices in some places. Because personally, I think it would just be easier, right? Like you can do everything from the controller while the drone is in the air. Like Inspire system, love that you have the different lenses that you can swap, and I think that for that platform it works. But for a drone that's foldable and that, you know, people are using it on the go, like being able to just do it on the fly while you're flying right from the controller is way better than having to land and change the lens and this and
Right.
that, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing really like sort of holding it back, holding it back is not having like a modular setup, like something that you can buy and then grow with. Because like if you look at like the Inspire 2 series, that was out for like an incredibly long time, right? I think it was out
five,
what,
five, 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
But anyways, throughout the whole cycle, they kept updating the camera system and then they had new lenses and things of that nature. So you had options, right? I feel like when you buy a
Hmm.
Mavic, you sort of have like 2 to maybe 3 years of a life cycle of that product before you're like, okay, it was fun, but I want something a little bit different. I mean, the other obvious thing that I think most people would want, and I mean, I'm all about it, is vertical video, right? I thought
Yeah.
the Mavic 3 Pro would have maybe one of the lenses that could have, basically inverted itself internally so that way we can be able to record vertical video or just have it as a vertical lens. The more Instagram reels and things like that I do for clients, I find myself, obviously cropping in to try to get, just the right, shot. But I feel like that would be something that would definitely be something worthwhile on the next version of the Mavic, providing vertical video is still a thing, which I think it will be. I think vertical video will be a thing for quite a while.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, enough to warrant like a Mavic 4 to totally change the design. I mean, it's going to be around for years and years to come. The Mavic or the Mini 3, I mean, you kind of look at the general design of the drone too. It's way different than anything we've seen, which gives you a lot of range of motion up and down. So I could
Right.
see them kind of taking that design style and maybe they'll step up, right? So maybe like, I mean, just kind of talking here, we have Mini 3,
Yeah.
maybe an Air 3, right, is going to be next. And that's when we kind of get the vertical video brought up a notch to, let's say, a better camera system. I
We
mean, I
say
think,
like a 1 inch sensor, at that point.
I,
I don't see them bringing a 4/3 sensor. If they ever did release
mm-mm.
an Air 3, just spitballing here. I don't see us seeing a 4/3 sensor on that. I just don't see it.
Yeah, the Air 3 for me, is a drone that I think the camera is fine where it's at. I think that they can make like adjustments to the color science because the Air
Yeah.
2S wasn't the best in terms of color science. So
No, it wasn't.
I think from that regard, if they can just add like vertical video shooting, give us some more flight time, maybe a little bit more speed. I mean, I think that that's really the only thing that we need. Maybe improve the obstacle avoidance sensors, like give us those new sensors that we have on the Mavic 3 that are kind of like the upgraded actual like hardware.
Right.
Maybe get some of those put on the drone. But like I almost think that like when you look at their Mavic line, like the Air and the Mavic 3 Pro, in my opinion, are like a little bit too like tight together. Like I feel like
There's not enough
people will say,
separation between the two.
yeah, like people will say, "Oh, I'm buying the Air 3, or I'm buying the Air 2 because it's easier to travel with." And sure, I totally get that, but all of these drones are easy to travel with. Like they're all so small, they're all so easily, portable. I mean, if you look at the difference between the Mini 3 and the Mavic 3, okay, now we have a difference. So for me, like I just see such a big gap in between the Mavic 3 and now the Inspire 3 that there needs to be something that fills that. So I would love to see like a drone that's the size of the Evo Max, right? Like basically make that the Mavic 3. Like the Mavic 4, like make it a little bit bigger and then the Air fulfills that role of being, the mid-tier
That's a
drone.
good point. They could make the Mavic 4 bigger because I still think like the Max, it's slightly bigger, but I feel like it's still a manageable. It's a manageable size. You know what I mean? It's like I could still put the Max in a backpack and not really feel like it's going to be too overly cumbersome. But I also feel like that added size helps out a little bit with the wind. That's the other thing I would want to talk about is, with that bigger gimbal, it doesn't seem like it does as well in all situations. Like obviously we were both in Utah. We figured this out really quickly. The first day we got to Utah, we decided we were going to go flying. The wind gusts were probably like 25, 30 miles an hour. It was not a good day to fly, like at all. But, we just drove, 6-7 hours from Las Vegas. Here we are. We're in Salt Lake City. We want to get as much content in as possible. So we're like, you know what? Let's go find a spot shielded from the wind somehow and go fly. And we got some flying in more later in the day. But where we first tried flying, I was having all sorts of gimbal issues. Like my gimbal, I looked like I was crashing at one point because the wind was blowing so hard, it was just blowing the gimbal all over the place. And the only way I could fly it back to me was line of sight safely,
Yeah.
because that's how bad the gimbal was unusable at that point.
Dude, it was so funny because I was trying to do a waypoint hyperlapse like up and over the hills while the clouds were moving, and
Yeah.
you can see the path that the drone is supposed to fly on, like, and so you can monitor it, right? Well, it starts drifting off the path. Like the wind is blowing it so hard that it can't even stay on the path between two waypoints. So it's funny because I forgot about that. But then we drove like 40 minutes north and there was virtually no wind.
Yeah, the wind was so bipolar, because then we were in like the mountains. It was snowing, and I'm like, this is the most bipolar weather I've ever experienced. We went from like spring weather, a little bit of rain, and then all of a sudden, boom, snow. Here we are in the mountains. Yeah, that was definitely a wild. That was a wild 40. What is it like? I think it was like 24 hours, 48 hours that we were there.
Yeah. That was insane.
But we flew a lot. We were able to fly
dude.
a lot with it. And I think we learned a lot about what it's capable of doing, like what it's good for. I talked a little bit about, we were downtown Salt Lake City, and you're in an airspace that's unfamiliar. You don't, where like the air traffic is. We're not familiar with that. So to have that 70 millimeter, to be able to get some of those closer shots of the city, still not being over traffic, not being over any pedestrian areas. I think that was freaking my favorite thing. It was like right then and there, I was like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is freaking awesome. I'm getting this shot. It looks like I'm right on top of this building, but I'm way away from the building. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, and it just shows the compression too, right? I mean, from where we were flying a little bit outside of the city, not only could you hit the buildings and they're like there right in front of you, but it brings the mountains in the background closer to you, right? So it compresses that image, and it was incredible. I want to bring up what Chris said here. Is Skydio 2 still the king of auto tracking drones? No, it's not. I mean, the Mavic 3 has fully caught up to the Skydio, in my opinion. I think that they just give you two different brands of tracking. Like the Skydio is better for like sports. You're like, in the moment. It's very jerky, but it's really good. Like it jerks all around you as you're kind of moving around, and it does offer that. Like it's really close to you. But the Mavic 3, in my opinion, does just as good at tracking, and also it does great at dodging obstacles. The one thing that I would say, the one thing that Skydio has over the Mavic is the beacon, right? Like you can use the beacon, or you could just use your phone. So that's a little bit easier. You don't have to carry your
I'm surprised we can't do that with the motion wanker. That we couldn't, you know what I mean? Like we could use the motion controller as a beacon. I'm really surprised we can't do that, because that would be the ultimate beacon, because you have a range of motion that you don't get with the beacon, because the beacon is analog. Basically, you got these buttons, you go left, right, yaw, but you can't do all of those things simultaneously. But with the motion wanker, you can basically fly the drone in almost any direction you want, just like you could with the controller. For me, that's like the ultimate beacon if they made it into a beacon. Matter of fact, I'm looking at my Skydio. It's been sitting there. I haven't flown it like at all. Like I don't know what to do with it anymore, because the tracking, it's cool, but it's robotic. The camera is dated. I've heard, and this is what I've heard, is that Skydio is going to exit the consumer scene. That's the rumor, that they're just going to develop for military and enterprise only, and that they're exiting the consumer scene. That's the rumor out of AVUSI, that they are going to exit the consumer scene. We will not see, I guarantee you, we will not see a Skydio S3. I don't think we'll see I don't think we'll see an S3.
I'm kind of upset about that, because it's like so many of these companies are just folding and giving up to what DJI is coming out with, which is a shame. I mean, I wish I could build my own drone, but I'm not that smart.
But that's the thing. Like we don't, like, let's say tomorrow, DJI, we wake up, and the president says no more Chinese drones. No more Chinese drones. He goes to bed, he wakes up, forgets he's Joe Biden, he thinks he's Ron DeSantis, and he says no more Chinese drones. They're too woke. Chinese drones are too woke. And you can't fly anything else. Like, what do you choose? Like for real estate, what do you choose? You can't go with Altel. That's Chinese. There's what? Skydio, that's literally the only thing, you know?
I'd be using the Skydio to do my shoots.
Exactly.
Like
I guess you can buy a Parrot, you know, you could try to find a used Parrot Anafi. I mean, that's about, you know, it's French. I mean, that's about all you can get.
So here's something interesting, and this is probably a conversation that you didn't think I'd bring up. But let's talk about some old features that DJI has had in their app that they haven't brought over to the Fly app yet. Because I can think of two right off the bat. One kind of comes up from the fact of tracking here. Do you remember that we had automatic updating home points? So the drone would automatically update the home point every 10 seconds or however long you wanted it to update. I mean, how great was that?
This was fantastic when you were on a boat.
Yeah.
You know, and you're moving, because I had a buddy of mine, he's got his Air 2S, and he's, you know, launches and he's chasing the boat, right? He's chasing the boat. Well, you know that the max distance, there's a max distance like that, I guess he had set, and that max distance is from the home point. Well, the home point was way back there, and all of a sudden the drone's like, well, hang on a second, I have to go back to my home point. Yeah, because the home point wasn't dynamic. It was not updating. I agree. We need to get dynamic home points back so it can keep updating as you're moving and it tracks that RC again. I agree 100%.
Yeah, because look, if you're tracking a car, you can easily get miles away from your home point. And
100%.
You know, like if you're doing active track on a car, like you can easily fly way far away to the point where, yeah, it thinks that you're, you know, thousands of miles or thousands of feet away, but you're actually,
that could be a dangerous situation depending on where you're at. Over water, it's bad. Depending on what part of a city you're in, that could be bad, because you get back and your drone lands. You don't have a drone anymore because it's gone. Somebody found that.
Yeah. Now here's another one. Here's another one, right? Remember how many intelligent flight modes that they used to have built into these apps? Like they had waypoints, follow me, tap to fly, like all of these intelligent flight modes. I remember there being like 13 of them. And now when you pull up the intelligent flight modes, you've just got, you know, active track, spotlight, and point of interest. And they're all great. I think that they were the most used.
But were they saturated? Was it too saturated before? Did we have too many options that weren't being used? Do you think that DJI, in a sense, maybe was, you know, like, you know how like when you agree to your app and you're saying, hey, we're agreeing to data transmitting back and forth so they can understand more about the analytics of the app, that they were saying, hey, based upon the user experience, these were the most commonly used smart features and these weren't. So is it worth still developing and porting these over to new hardware? Because I got to tell you, I never really use smart modes. Like I use orbit, like if I'm doing a property, I use point of interest. And I may use spotlight periodically when I have a good target to select. I'll use spotlight.
So for me, like I've been thinking about this is like, follow me mode was great because while active track has gotten way better, if you're in a scenario where you want to follow yourself and let's say you're in a car in a heavily wooded area, it's going to lose you. Like there's just no way that this drone can see through trees to see where you're at. The reason why follow me was so good is because you had the GPS connection between the drone and the controller, and it would keep the same distance all of the time. And this is now what we see like with Skydio's Scout, the Skydio Scout skill that it can do, right? Where you can have the drone up and it keeps a similar distance, you know, with the GPS,
right?
With the GPS signal from where your drone is and where your controller is. So, you know, for me, that's a much more solid way of having the drone track something if you're in an area where it might lose it through active track. And even if you're on a boat, like if you're out in the middle of nowhere, something that I would do if I needed a break on the sticks is just throw follow me on, and the drone would just keep up with the boat no matter what. And I didn't have to worry about active track getting all wonky, and then the drone is, you know, now thousands of feet being left behind. So that would be another cool, you know, feature for them, I think, to add back.
Yeah, I you know, maybe things like that will make their way back as they move. I feel like they add and take, like with every rendition or every new update, we see something new being brought over, right? I think they want to have as many smart features as possible, but I also, in the same token, I believe they want every smart feature that they add or every smart flight mode to work the best it possibly can. And if something's not 100%, they're just they're going to essentially yoke it. Something I would love to see on the newer drones is, this makes me think about Denver. It rained for the vast majority of the time we were out there. I would love to see IP ratings on drones.
To be so
you know what I mean? Like give us an IP67 rated or IP68 rated drone.
Yeah, but again, I think that they're holding out some of these features to like come out with something in the
Yeah.
future that's like, oh, and now it's got this, and now it's got that, and going back to the whole point about how there's not much competition in this space. At least DJI really likes to compete with themselves, right? Like at least we
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
company like them where they come out with so many damn drones that like it really makes you think about which one you want to buy. So at least there's a little bit of competition in that sense. But outside of that, there's not much.
Recovery asked, what about the Teal 2? So while we were at AVUSI, we saw the Teal 2. It was at the Drone Nerds booth. And I will
Yeah.
tell you, we didn't get a chance to fly it. None of these drones were flying. There was really no drones flying at this event. But when you walk up to the Teal 2, it doesn't look like a drone that, screams professional. It has antenna placements front and rear in an awkward spot. Like you have mid-body antennas. It feels very, very cheap for them touting the fact that they are this American-made product. It feels like it was made in Taiwan. Very, very cheap. The controller felt just fragile to the touch. There was nothing impressive about the Teal drone. It doesn't have the same bolstering effect. Like when you pick up the Skydio, it feels solid. Like it feels like a good piece of hardware. Sans the X2 smart controller, that's just whatever, whatever that is. But you pick up their hardware is good. Like it's good hardware. It feels good. You don't get that confidence with Teal. And not only that, like just there's too many stories that they still fly like absolute crap, which sort of weird, man. Sort of weird that they still can't get their crap together. And I would say like they're the number 2 American manufacturer, I think, at this point.
Yep. For me, I'm just reading through the chat here. I really agree with what Alberto says, that DJI reminds him of Sony, where they're pumping out a lot of gear consistently. I mean,
They do.
You look at
they
what
do.
they're
They
doing with their
cannibalize
cameras.
themselves.
They're coming out with a new camera every month. I swear. They're so fixated on these vlogging cameras, which is just boggles my mind.
Let's talk about Sony, because we've now had the Air Peak. Let's talk about the Air Peak, because I feel like we have had multiple times where we were 2 feet away from the Air Peak, and every single time I've ever seen the Air Peak, I've never seen it fly live in person. And Sony will not let us have a demo unit. They will not, like, even if it's like, hey, can we have a rep come out so we can strap some of our Sony gear to the Air Peak so we can figure out if it's worth purchasing? Because if you're going to think about purchasing an aircraft, the Air Peak could be a viable option for somebody who films predominantly with Sony. Like, we're Sony shooters. It's $12,000 plus the gimbal cost. So you're around like, I want to say $14,000 all in for the Air Peak, which I know that sounds expensive, but for a professional that is getting paid like, maybe 2 shoots and you pay the damn thing off, that's a good deal. But I want to know that it works. And I haven't seen barely any information on that. And I know people that have it and they really don't have positive things to say about it. And these are people that have either bought it or been around it, and they don't have positive things to say about it.
Yeah. So drone with gimbal, $12,000, $12,600.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, dude,
Plus, you got to add in your camera cost.
You add an A1 plus like a 24 to 70 or whatever you want to use.
You're 20,000.
Because the A1 is $6,000 and a good lens is like another $2,000. So you're at $20,000 at this point. And how much does the Inspire 3 cost? Like $16,000.
The Inspire 3 for the base is $16,300. I think all in, like all up, like if you want to be ready to fly, you're like $19,300, I believe. Ready to fly. That's with lens, everything.
The X9 camera kicks the A1 up and down the street all day long because of
the raw capabilities. Yeah.
The fact that it can shoot 8K up to 75 or whatever, 90 frames per second, right? Like it does so much more than the A1 does. And at the end of the day, what Sony's trying to do here is like retrofit their cameras onto a drone. But think about how much wasted space is in a Sony camera and how much extra weight that adds. You've got all this extra hardware, screens, and things that don't need to be in the camera, whereas DJI's system is just so streamlined with just the sensor. Like that's all you need. The sensor.
It makes me wonder why Sony has not produced just like a small box camera like that can be flown on drone. Like, give me a box camera, global shutter, no no image stabilization, just like almost like a red Komodo competitor. Get this thing to where we can at least have ProRes RAW capability. DJI was able to work that out with Red, where they have a licensing piece in effect, where essentially they are licensing the ability to shoot RAW, even though technically, and I'm using air quotes, technically they're not shooting internal RAW because the SSD is located externally.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some sort of weird cross-licensing agreement they have with Red to make that happen. But I would love to see that. I would love to see that. That would be awesome.
Who's in the chat? You want to say his name?
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Fravel, everybody, the drone geek. Chris Fravel. Chris Fravel.
That's all you were saying. When we
Oh man, I got to tell you, funny ass story from Denver. So we're out there for AVUSI, Bill I, Drone Geek, Chris Fravel, everybody. I think it's like day 2. Now, day 1, I got there late, and full disclosure, it's Colorado. I took a gummy. Leaving the event, I ingested a gummy, and I was pretty tore up that night. Like I don't know, the altitude, the gummy, the whole thing. Night number 2, Bobby, by the way, that's Bobby's fault. That is Bobby's fault. He said it was a Flintstone vitamin.
Need your vitamins.
He told me it was a Barney rubble. The next night we go out, and it's my birthday. It's Kat's birthday. Not my birthday, but Kat's birthday. Kat Dono. That's a whole nother story. But we're in the middle of the street. It's cold as shit. Chris Fravel and I sitting out there. I'm hammered. I'm probably about hammered as I've ever been. And just sitting on the beautiful streets of Denver, I realized I wasn't homeless at that point. It felt pretty good.
Is my screen being shared right now?
Yeah, I think I could figure out how to share. How do I share this?
I just hit share. Is it sharing?
Oh, it's there. Yeah. Go ahead and press play. Yeah, press play, Bill. It's on your screen. I think I lost Billy.
You put me in the green room.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened. Let's see. Picture in picture. Can I do that? Can I? Oh, here it is. How do I do this? It doesn't. For some reason, it's not letting me.
There it is. That's Ken. This was Ken in Denver.
I can't even see it.
It's up on the screen now. It's up on the screen now.
Is it up on the screen?
Yeah, there you go. I took it down.
Oh man, we were gone, dude. We were gone. That was a great time. Denver is a beautiful city. The whole time we were there, it rained. The whole time we couldn't even fly. I brought all this gear, could not even fly.
I know.
I couldn't even fly. It was a bummer because the first day I got there, it looked gorgeous during the day. I was like, oh wow, this is going to be awesome to fly. But we had to do the event. So we did the event with Pilot Institute, which was awesome. But then, by the time we got out of the event, the weather started turning and it started raining. Mm-hmm. And then that rain never stopped from the point. And then we had tornado warnings the one day. So none of it was good to fly, but it was a really, AVUSI as a whole is an interesting event. I don't know if it was worth it per se for me to go. For me, I feel like commercial UAV is more my jam. I feel like it's not quite as uptight. I feel like AVUSI it was very uptight. Like everybody, suit, tie, everybody, for God's sakes, I was wearing dress shoes and dress pants and my shirt tucked in and my hair done. I never do that. I never do that. I came off the plane already well-to-do. I even put a napkin in my lap when I was eating.
By the last day, I was wearing shorts.
You were wearing shorts last day?
The event.
I missed that. I missed that. I feel like commercial UAV is a little more relaxed though.
Yeah. He said he didn't even realize that he couldn't fly and he was halfway home. The same thing. I mean, the time kind of flew by while I was there. And I probably don't think that we would have had much time to fly regardless. But
no, we wouldn't have. There was too much going on. We were getting pulled all over the place. I mean, most of the time, the whole time we were there, I think the whole time we were there, we really just worked the Pilot Institute booth. We really didn't walk. The only day we walked around was when we were filming. We were trying to get some B-roll together for Pilot Institute for the news, for the news update. We were getting B-roll, but otherwise we were always at the booth, just talking to people as they would come up. They wanted to talk about the courses. I think that's what we talked about. Did you notice? You know who I saw there? You know who I saw? They had a booth. They had a soccer thing. I saw Drone U. I walked right past Paul.
They were there.
I was like, maybe 10 feet from Paul, and I saw him. And then somebody else I saw, we were walking on the streets with pizza, and I walked right past Drone Crash Academy. So Drone Crash Academy was walking right past us. I made eye contact with Davey Gravy as he was walking by. I made this indiscreet eye contact. And it was just more or less, I wanted him to know, like, fuck Alex Harris over there at Quick Ass Tutorials. Like, let me say it again. Fuck you, Alex Harris. Like, hang on a second. I know you don't like personality. So there's a guy, he goes by the name of Quick Ass Tutorials. He hates people with personalities. He doesn't like logo intros. He doesn't like any personality. He basically wants you to be a cardboard motherfucking box. So, hey, Alex Harris, I know you got to relax, lay off the steroids just a little bit, but go fuck yourself. So let me say it again. Alex Harris, go fuck yourself. I think I said your name enough because I know you have to pay for ads to gain traction. Like, I know you got to pay for ads to gain traction. Similar to, like, your steroid usage, you have to inject it to keep that going. I don't have to do that. My dick functions all natural. Okay. Go fuck yourself.
He's getting free advertisement from you right now.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I just gave him a lot. Go fuck yourself. Drone Crash Academy, David Gravy, go fuck yourself. And Alex, because you're a part of Drone Crash Academy, go fuck yourself. I can't wait until Pilot Institute makes your business plaza into a fucking airplane hangar. Like, Davy's office, I'm just going to fucking plow it over, park an airplane there, put the Pilot Institute flag, and I'm going to be standing there like I landed on the fucking moon as I close down Drone Crash Academy. I cannot wait. Friends don't let friends go to Drone Crash. Just fuck them. Sign up for the link in the description. Give all your money to Pilot Institute.
You don't even have to give your money to Pilot Institute.
Just don't even. Just sign up for all the free courses. All the free courses. All the free courses. Sign up for them all. All the deep dives. All the deep dives. I waited till the end. I waited till the end before I went off the rails. Like, I did really, really good. But I just fuck them.
And now he drinks his Ghost.
Yeah, and I'm not even drinking alcohol. So this is just blatantly me. I saw that ad that, like, nobody knows what this is, but there's this ad. He's running these Instagram ads talking about if you buy this 1 hour course, it's going to fix all of your issues. Let me tell you something. You can buy a 1 hour course and still not know enough about anything. The only way you get good at what you do is by practicing. Yeah, I agree. And I'm sorry, anybody with a personality as flat as my first girlfriend's ass is not going to teach you anything you'll ever need to know. Okay? It's just not. I mean, it's not. His personality is that flat. It makes me sick. It makes me actually, I just threw up my mouth a little bit. Yeah, fuck.
You're showing too much personality right now, bro.
I know. I got to throw it back, dude.
You're showing too much personality.
I gotta reel back the personality. And I should probably not have any more logo intros anymore. No more logo intros. And I shouldn't repeat things, right? No more branding. No more branding. No more branding.
How could you? How dare you?
How dare I? How dare I brand something? How dare I?
Oh man, my name isn't showing. I thought that my name, when I put it in, would show up on the screen.
Oh no. Yeah, you know what it is? That it doesn't. That's just for me to see.
Yeah,
Billy U. It's for me to see, but like on here, this is a solid graphic.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So,
but I can't believe you would brand yourself with this graphic. I mean, that's just.
I know how horrible is this to have any sort of personality or range of difference? I mean,
let's rip on Drone Base a little bit. Now that we're
Oh
in this
yeah.
section.
So talk to me about Drone Base, man.
Yeah, so let's you know what, man, if we could bring Russ on here, I know that he would rant with us. But
Woo!
so
Drone Base.
First of all, I don't even know how I'm signed up for Drone Base's emails. I just get them. I get them whenever there's like a job in my
I
area.
think we do it for
So
entertainment. Entertainment.
Yeah, look, I live in Philadelphia. Let me see if I can find their email again because I'll see where their job was. No, you know what? I'm just going to go back and I'm going to look at the screenshot that I tweeted. So I got a job offer from Drone Base, not like a full-time job, but like, one of their jobs that they put out there for $50. So to go and photograph something, 9 photos for $50. It says that the weather needs to be up to 100% cloudy, scope 9 aerial images. The tenants are not aware of this inspection. Shoot from the street and do not interact or disturb the tenants. Be discreet. So what? Am I now like some sort of private investigator? Your vehicle cannot be in the images. Do not park in front of the home. Was this a home or was it like an office building? Who knows? Please confirm the address before shooting. Do not shoot the property if it's covered in snow. But do not shoot if the property is covered in snow, but up to 6 inches of snow cover is acceptable. Do not fly
I got it here on the screen for anybody who's curious. These are the instructions straight off of Billy's Twitter here.
Yeah. So, all right.
$50 payout, dude.
102 Briar Lane in Newark, Delaware. Let me pull up maps and see how far away that is from me. So 102
$50.
Briar Lane in Newark, Delaware. That's 37 miles from me. So when we put it in, that's a 56-minute drive. So you're telling me that I'm going to drive 56 minutes one way, 47 miles with my $3,000 drone, with my insurance that I carry, with the travel that it's going to cost, with the tolls that I'm going to have to hit, and you're going to pay me $50.
$50. I mean,
and then I'm going to have to drive another 47 miles back home, 56 minutes. So that's a 2-hour round trip, which is insane. I got a job that was across the street from my apartment complex. I probably could have gone to my window, put my drone out the window, and then flown from there. And they were offering like $115, and that still wasn't worth it because
it's a building they wanted shots of, right?
So here, let me zoom in on it. 102 Briar Lane is a home. It's actually a residence. That's
sort of weird that they want that. That must be maybe a photographer or somebody that is essentially, outsourcing to Drone Base to get, because maybe they don't have a 107 or something like that. And they're,
who knows?
Again, $50. I mean, that's $50 doesn't go very far anymore. Once upon a time, you know what $50 would get you in Miami? A lap dance and a hand job at Tootsie's. That's what it would get you. I don't know. I'm not speaking from experience. I don't know.
Let me tell you that these guys are crooks. Drone Base, all these companies, don't do work with them. Don't do business with them. Don't sign up.
Don't give anybody this. Realistically, if you're going to do a job like this, I feel like if you're going to go out to a property and do something like this, $200 is fair.
Yeah.
Retrospect, if you don't have to do any editing, $200 is a fair price to just go out, snap some photos, upload them, be done. If it's convenient, if it's local, $200 I think is fair. If it's non-commercial, and I'm saying non-commercial as it's a residential property
or something. And 47 miles, that comes out to be 94 miles in total. I mean, just right there, that's $54 coming back to me in reimbursement in travel because of the miles. So I'd be getting
a mile.
I'd be getting more money back from the reimbursement for my travel than I would for the actual shoot itself.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they don't even say that they're going to reimburse for travel. Like that would be something I write off on my taxes, which is not a 1-to-1 return. You know what I mean? So it's just like it is bizarre. It is bizarre that they would put that even out there. And also, they have changed their name and rebranded to ZiteView. It is now ZITVIEW. What does that even mean? Drone Base was a much better name. ZiteView? What?
Please. Who knows? Maybe they're doing that because the drone aspect of things isn't paying. Maybe they can also dispatch a photographer now, much like Zillow. So I don't know if you remember, Zillow went down this path where they're like, oh, we're going to hire our own photographers where agents can book, pay Zillow directly. We'll send a photographer out. And, by the way, you're going to get paid like $17 an hour you have to provide your own equipment, your own transportation. You're going to get $17 an hour, which I was like, what? No way. Screw that. And that never got off the ground, by the way. That never got off the ground. They got so much blowback from the Photographers of America, and all these associations and even agents as a whole. They're like, we don't even like Zillow, so I wonder if they're doing something like that. They're trying to be like this all-in-one solution where they can dispatch out, photographer. I don't know. I don't agree. Now, if nobody picks that job up, what will happen is next week it'll be $75.
Yeah, or 55. They'll give you an extra $5.
Oh, $55. Maybe it'll go up. I think it'll go up to 75 to entice people, but
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
dude, if I lived across the street, that wouldn't be worth it to me, because and I'm not coming from a place of trying to sound snobby or whatever, but it's like, you have to realize that, like, if you're good at what you do, you need to own your own business. Like, there's no way that if you're a good, competent photographer, videographer, whether you're flying the drone or not, that you should be going and trying to work for somebody else. Like, it doesn't work. Like, start your own
100%.
business. You'll get clients.
I agree with that.
It's not going to be instant, right? And there's so many ways that you can fail and so many ways you can mess up. But at the end of the day, if you're good at what you do, you can make a ton of money doing what you do. Photography and videography.
And the reality is, if you're going to open your own business and do this, careful planning is absolutely a must. And like, really just writing everything out that you're going to need to be successful. And also understanding your overhead and constantly monitoring that. Like, I'm not going to lie. I look at like people have asked me to do this event and that event. And my new rule now, this is my new rule. If I'm not getting paid to go to an event, I have to say no, because every time I leave, I have to say no to a client. And if I'm saying no to a client, that's no to another payday. And when your primary job, my primary job is the real estate, photography, and media business, every time I say no to go to an event that is not going to return anything, there's no ROI, that's a huge hit. That's a huge hit. And I will not take that risk. I will not take that responsibility anymore. And that's something you have to think about if you're going to go into this is, hey, if you have low overhead, low risk, you don't need medical, because obviously you're not going to get medical. Like, these are all things that you need to consider if you're going to do this. Like, I think photography is still a fantastic part-time job. It is a stressful, doing real estate, doing what we do is a stressful full-time job. It's a stressful full-time job because you're relying on other people to need you, which you also need them to book. You know what I mean? It's like a hand-holding thing. It gets very stressful. At times.
Especially when you're trying to do everything yourself, really.
Right. We're one-man bands, and it's like you want to scale, but people don't want to use somebody that's not you, because the reason why they hired you is for you. That's been the biggest challenge I have had. I don't know if that's something you've experienced, but I'll try to hire somebody, and that person will try to go out there, and then I'll get a complaint because it's not me. Oh, they didn't shoot it like you do it, or they don't know what I like. These are all like silly complaints, but those are things that
Chad says, so what do you gentlemen think about Drone U?
Yeah, fuck Drone U. Still fuck them. Like, still.
Back to the whole like starting your own business thing. You can go get your Part 107. You can get your Part 107 course from Pilot Institute for $150.
Boom.
And then you can get your Part 107 for $150, right? And then you can go get a Mini 3 for like $500, and you can be up and running. You can be up and running, making money more than $50 a shoot. I mean, you could
do that. You could do that. And a lot of people have said, how do you get cameras and gear if you don't have any money? I mean, the easiest way, you could finance your gear. You could do that. You can, go to the bank, finance your gear if you need to. I would always recommend keeping your risk very, very minimal. Try to pay as much as you can cash for, like, if you're starting a business. The one cool thing is, we go over all this in our course. Like, we talk about like the budget aspects of what we do. Like we talk, I mean, super budget. Like, I'm talking about super cheap, like under, I think we got all the gear. We put a gear list together. I think it was like under $1,500 to be operational, to make money.
And this is like talking like, this is talking like actual camera equipment, like not drones.
Right.
But like really, I mean, I'm looking at my schedule right now, and like every job that I have this week, I could leave all my drones at home and just use the Mini 3 and like
Yeah.
I'd get by. You know what I mean? So like if you're in a position where you're starting, you don't feel like you need to go and buy like the best of the best drone. You know what I mean? Like for me, when I fly the Mavic 3, it's like, yeah, the images look better, but I could still get great looking images from the Mini 3. And the Mavic 3 just gives you like a lot of like luxury features too, like the obstacle
The
avoidance,
vast
the long
majority of
flight
clients
time.
aren't going to notice the difference. They're going to be happy. You know, here's the funny thing. You've been doing Instagram Reels with an iPhone, and
Yeah.
people pay you for these reels that are done with an iPhone.
Mhm.
So when you told me this, I was like, no, there's no way. There's no way. So I went out and I bought a, the Osmo 6, the little phone gimbal for like $140. And I started doing these Instagram reels, and like, they look great. And it's all done with the phone. It's done with your freaking phone.
Yeah.
And you can make
It's the
money. You can make money with your phone. It's insane.
it's the computational photography. I mean, you know, what
Computational.
I
Yep.
do is what I do, or computational, whatever it's called.
Whatever the AI they have in there, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like when I'm going and I'm, you know, going through a home, what's great about it is it handles the exposure adjustment, and the roll off is really nice. I mean, you can go from the outside where it's super bright right into the inside through the door, and it'll roll off the exposure and, you know, make it look nice. And then it'll, like, you know, with the dynamic range software, it'll be able to show through the windows by just walking through and not having to do anything, right? So for me, like
That blows my mind.
social media for me is like, you know, the social media posts that go up, they just need to be like
30
good enough
seconds
for
or less. Yeah.
well, yeah, but good enough for the end user to watch. And for me personally, I think that like on TikTok and Instagram Reels, content that is like not that doesn't look like a professional advertisement does better, because some of those look like ads and people just scroll. They're like, whoa,
Right.
this
They
is an ad,
scroll
right
over.
away.
There's got to be a little roughness to, you know what I mean? There's got to be like a quirky nature to it for people to sit
Yeah.
on it. Yeah, I agree. Dash asked, did you ever find the FPV drone that you crashed when we were in Utah?
Nah, no, somebody has it, I'm sure. I mean, I guess so. When it crashed, it was in some snow.
Yeah.
You know, the ski resort, the owners asked us to leave because, you know, they were like, ah, you're on private property, this, that, whatever. So we left, and the drone was left up there. So somebody will find it. You know, it's funny because it was stuck in the snow, and I like probably hit turtle mode maybe 50 times on the drone, and eventually
We almost had it. We almost had it back.
Yeah.
But we
We were
ran out of time though, man.
we were flying the M30T over to try to find, like, because we
The
knew that the drone was
hotspot.
going to be hot. The drone was going to be hot and it's sitting in snow. So we're trying to use the M30T, but it was tough trying to find it. And what's so annoying is like I have another FPV drone, but the software won't update. I've got no idea. I plug it into FPV Assistant on my computer. It recognizes it. I tap on update software. It goes through, and then halfway through, it just craps out. So I don't know what's up.
That's definitely strange that it does that. Have you tried a Windows machine?
I should actually. I've got a Razer.
I'm just saying, like, a lot of
Blade.
times when I have issues updating the firmware, what I've noticed, it's usually the Mac. The Mac will, like, there's something good. So I'll plug it into the Windows laptop, and usually it updates. I would say it updates fine. But yeah, that was when you crashed that. I was just like, I thought you were joking with me, but when I saw the goggles come up, I was like, oh no, he's serious. That we just lost
Yeah.
another FPV drone in
Well,
probably the
so-
worst spot, because there was like 3 feet of powder, snow. Like, I mean, it just got done snowing up there on the ski resort. No way in hell we were finding that. There was no way.
Yeah. So for me, you know, I was cruising down the ski lift, like right along the wires, and I came up over a bump, and then I tried to correct myself so that I could account for the dip, and I just over accounted for the dip, and I just hit the wires. So, you know.
Yeah, and they were not having it. They were not even happy we were there. You know,
right out.
For starters, we're in this van, this search and rescue van, like this massive van. Like, in theoretically, they should have been like, oh, this is official business, because this van looked official. If we would have turned on the little flashing lights, they would have thought we were like, you know, law enforcement. I mean, technically it was. We could have faked it out, but, you know, obviously we didn't want to get anybody in trouble, so we're like, we'll just go. Well, there's other, you know, but that was definitely a painful loss. But all in all, that was still an awesome place. That was still an awesome place to fly. Like that was a really unique place to actually get some shots though.
It was great, man. I love going to uncharted territory, and that's why I was really pumped up for Denver, but all the rain really just killed us.
Billy, you said, Chad, I hate Pilot Institute.
He said, okay, course. He said, okay, which course do you guys endorse / like? I said, Chad, I hate Pilot Institute. It's kind of like a, reverse psychology thing here. I hope Greg doesn't see that. Wait, can we talk about the AI advertisement that is on Instagram promoting Drone Pro Academy?
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that because that
I have it. I'll pull it up here.
Oh man, that's such a weird.
So
yeah,
if
pull
you
it up.
if you guys have seen like artificial intelligence, like the pictures and stuff that's being made, I mean, they're doing a lot of crazy stuff with it now. But with some of these different AI programs like Midjourney and this and that, whatever, like you can basically tell it like, hey, I want a picture of this that looks like this, for example, right?
Yeah.
And it'll like make it for you. So in this case, this company that was that was promoting their drone course, they probably said, I want a photo of someone standing in a canyon with a backpack on holding a drone. And this is what it spit out. You can tell that it's AI because it's like very weird. So let's see. I will share.
You got a
my
link?
screen again.
Can you text me a link? Because then I can just open it up, throw it on the screen.
So I just have it saved. Can I just send it to you as a photo?
Yeah.
I'll just text it to you here.
Yeah, just text me. I'll open it up. Big screen.
Here. There you are. Just send it to you via group chat. So yeah, that
go to Avatar Drone Life here. Let me. Oh man, this. So yeah, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, you guys need to look at it and you tell me who that is. Who is that person in the?
I don't know why it's not.
Picture?
It's not.
Is it because we're not allowed to show anything other than Pilot Institute? Did Greg put that in the coding?
I don't know if he did or didn't, dude. Let me see. I don't know why it's doing that. It won't let me. It won't let me show it. But anyways, there's this ad, and the dude looks. I mean, I'm gonna see if I can get it. I think I know what it's. I think I know what it's got to do. I think I got to put it. The reason was I was trying to open it up like this. Let me see. All right, so there we go. Let's see if it'll let me open this now. So yeah, here it is right here. So this ad is for Drone Pro Academy, and I started getting questions about this ad because people are like, dude, why are you promoting Drone Pro Academy? And when you look at the guy, I mean, it's almost uncanny. This looks exactly like me, right down to the stupid face. The little bit of the beard, the eyebrows, the tired look underneath the eyes. I mean, this thing just nails everything. That looks like me, dude.
Dude, that's you. Like that is like I don't know.
Even the slight dad bod, like it even got my my pec area here. That's pretty much accurate. I mean, other than the drone, I don't know what that is. Is that a teal I'm holding? But yeah.
But
weird
look at
as
the drone.
shit.
It's so strange because the drone has these like weird pointy things underneath of it, and also there's no watch band. Like the watch. Yeah. The watch is like
the watch is just embedded. But can you imagine having such a shitty 107 course that you have to give 75% off because your course is such shit? Nobody will buy it because the effect rate is so bad that you have to give 70. Basically, you have to give the course away just so you can break even because your course is essentially that shitty.
Dude, it's so scary how much that looks like you. It's so scary.
It is scary. It's my doppelganger. I don't know if what I should do. I need to message him like, hey guys, listen, the likeness of this AI generation is scary. If this is what AI thinks a drone pilot should look like, we're all screwed. We're screwed. We're screwed. It looks like, I'm telling you, it looks like me right down to the bags under the eyes. I mean, that is me. That is me. If I flip this hat around, that is me.
And if you hold a shitty drone, that's you.
And exactly. If I hold a shitty drone, that's me. Let me grab the Skydio. Let me grab the Skydio.
I meant to say something earlier about the teal drone. It's so funny because we asked the guys at Drone Nerds, we're like, oh, you guys selling a lot of these? And they're like, no, we're not. No.
They were really honest. They were really honest about the sales on that drone. But I think that's, it's weird.
when I picked it up, it did feel pretty cheap, and who knows what the software experience is like, because that's 50% of it right there, you know.
So I can tell you right now, the law enforcement here in my town, they are using the FLIR, the Teledyne, and they hate it. They are hating life. But because the sheriff here in my town is the president of the Sheriff's Association of Florida, he has to fall into line, right? He can't just say, hey, we don't give a shit what the governor is going to say. We'll fly whatever we want. He can't do that because it's a re-election year. So he's like, I got to sort of fall. He's got to fall into, status quo. But I still think that that's the stupidest thing. Watching these guys fly the Teledyne is like watching a monkey fuck a football. It is just that bad. It is just that bad. The Teledyne is a piece of crap.
That's so good.
Wait, is this the same image used by Orca? I don't know if it's the same image. So somehow I got lumped into that too. So Orca had this whole massive shit show where, obviously their goggles were bricking, and there were people writing articles about the Orca goggles, and they were using the ad with my face for the articles. And I was getting the nastiest Instagram messages for people about their Orca goggles bricking. I was getting like the most ridiculous. So I messaged the CEO of Orca. I'm like, yo, you guys got to ask this guy to just put your logo up there, get my face off there, because I'm getting messages on Instagram from people about their goggles bricking. I'm like, I have nothing to do with you guys in that regard. I just did a video for you, and then you took the screen grab and made it into an advertisement. Like, what the fuck?
Crazy, man.
That was crazy. But all right, that's going to do it for tonight's stream. I'll be sure to, after the stream ends, I'll have some show notes. And then, of course, I'll have timestamps where you can just sort of navigate. If you're watching this far, you're just interested in the Mavic 3. It's like the first 30 minutes. If you're interested about why I don't like Alex Harris, that is at the 40-minute
next 30
mark.
minutes.
And then if you're interested in why Drone Launch Academy sucks, that's at the 40-minute mark. And then if you're interested as to why we're going to basically bulldoze their entire office complex and put an airplane hangar for Pilot Institute, that's at the 50-minute mark. All right, that's everything for the show tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you next time. Eduardo Nunez will likely be back. I don't know, but we'll see you later.
Look, I'm the second string guy, so whenever you need to fill in, just call on me.
just call on you, okay? All right. Well, that's fine, Bill. That's not the outro.
Maybe I'll just get out my head and focus on what I know's coming. Yeah. 'Cause I can't fall asleep at night without seeing my dreams. Delusion and reality, I'm somewhere in between. These voices in my head get loud and they keep telling me that I'm a fool for trusting in these wings. But maybe, baby, this what flying feels like.